You need to know about the Java-Lang Comparable Interface, or the Java-Lang Comparable Interface if you prefer, if you need to define a class in such a way that you will be able to compare objects of the class and sort them in order. You need to implement this interface. It only requires the implementation of one method, a method named compareTo. The interface is implemented by several of the standard classes, such as string, date, time, timestamp, URL, and all the wrappers of the numeric types, and several others. If you have a numeric value inside the class, it's easy to implement. A simple comparison can be made, and the return value can represent what is known about the natural order. With some classes, determining the natural order can be a bit more difficult. Even in comparing apples to apples, how do you determine which apple is the greatest? Size, color, weight, or some combination of these measurements? Anyway, the method returns an int value. It needs to be written so that, in this example, if A is less than B, then the return value is less than 0. If A is greater than B, the return value is greater than 0. It doesn't matter what the actual return value is, only the sign of the value matters. If A is equal to B, the method will return 0. That's why a Boolean couldn't be used as the return data type. There are 3 possible return states. But that's not all. An ordering must be imposed. If A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then A must be greater than C. This sort of thing is easy with simple comparisons like numbers, but they can be more complicated when the comparison gets more complicated. But if an ordering of objects is going to be made possible, this must be true. And this also must be true. If A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A must be equal to C. And the comparison must work both ways. If A is equal to B, then B must be equal to A. And there's one more. If A is greater than B, then B must be less than A. There is another interface that is quite similar in function. The Java-Lang Comparator interface defines 2 comparison methods. The first one you're already familiar with. It compares the current object to the one included as the argument and returns true only if the 2 are equal. The second method is the new one. Its rules of comparison are like those of the compareTo method in the comparable interface. The return value is negative if A is less than B, positive if A is greater than B, and 0 if the 2 are equal. To be able to impose an ordering, if A is less than B, B must be greater than A. If A tests as being equal to B, then B must also be equal to A. And the same rules of ordering apply. If A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then A must test as being greater than C. As I said earlier, this is the natural order of things. For both of these interfaces, you can see where the comparisons of numbers will work this way, but the comparisons of other things can cause problems. Say you're comparing elephants, and you compare the lengths of their trunks, their overall weight, and the size of their ears. You must organize these comparisons so they make sense in terms of creating a natural order of lesser and greater of all elephants.